Good evening. Good evening, Fazina Ibrahim. How are you? Welcome to another program of Building Bridges. This evening, we are here on a wonderful Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining me. I am elated to be here, not Monday, but Tuesday. I noticed some of you would have been responding to my intention to move the program from Monday to Tuesday. And I am so appreciative that you guys would change your schedule to be with me on Tuesdays. Yvette Madu, good evening to you. Welcome. Um, there is actually an entrance fee, even though you're here and you're getting a shout out. You must share the live. Folks, share the live this evening. It is important. We have a number of issues to talk about. Benjamin, Dr. Ewart Hakim Benjamin, good evening to you. Welcome. Please share the live stream. Share it to all of your friends. Particularly, we're going to be talking about domestic violence. We're going to be talking about NIS. We're going to be talking about education. Um, share the live stream so that people can come on. People can have a sense of what's happening, where we are. We've got an update to give you on Varsha's assault in Berbice. Good evening, Joel. How are you? I'm happy that you are here with me at the beginning. Please share the live stream. Winston Grenada. Winston says, "Good night, MP Natasha Singh Lewis, watching from Brooklyn." And I recently found out that Winston is a family friend. He's a loyal viewer on Building Bridges, and I recently found out that he's a family friend. Good evening to all of you. Sharon Griffith is watching from Alexander Village. Folks, this evening, a good part of our program will talk about NIS and what's happening. So for that, you have to tell us where you're viewing from, especially if you are in Guyana. Just hit me up. Sharon says she's from Alexander Village. Alexander Village is in Region 4. So just tell me which community, which region you're from, because I'd like to have some interactive comments on the issue on NIS. I am beginning to think is really a big issue that is affecting all of Guyana, those who are subscribers to NIS. And so, anybody that is employed in Guyana pays their NIS. And so there's an issue going on, and we need to talk about it. So, folks, yes, there's an entrance fee on tonight's program. So you have to share the stream, share the live stream, and let's get going. Let's talk about what's happening in our country. We've talked a lot in September about education and what's happening in education. Anna Gordon, good evening and welcome. Allison Fraser is in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome, Allison. Please share the live stream. Marna Stoby, good evening. She's watching from Port Kaituma. Port Kaituma is Region 1. Lance Young is watching from Rosignol, West Bank Berbice, and that's Region 5. And Lerna Smith is from the East Coast, Region 4. Barbara Bond is watching us from Canada. Folks, it's good to have all of you. Welcome to Building Bridges. I greatly appreciate that you were able to shift your schedule around to accommodate me on Tuesday evening. I am usually a kind person, and I don't really throw around things like that, right? I am very happy that you guys have taken the time to join me on Tuesday afternoon. I can't tell you how happy I am because I have actually shifted around my schedule to accommodate some other things. You guys know that I have extra stuff on my schedule now that I am mommy and daddy all together and still doing my little bit. So, folks, welcome. Thank you for joining me on a Tuesday afternoon. And Miss Barlow is watching us from Brooklyn. So, Brooklyn is in the house. A lot of Brooklyn is in the house. Bagottville, Shirley, is watching us from Bagotville. Bagotville is the East Bank. Folks, let's get going. I'm happy that you guys are here. Shirley Anil is watching. Alan is watching us, and you have to tell us which community, which region, and if you're Region 11, which is our diaspora. Tell us which area you're watching us from, which country, and which state you are from. Good evening to Maureen. Welcome, folks. Grace Richards is watching us from Linden Region 10. Folks, it's good to have all of you here this evening, and we have to go. Let's get into the program. October month is Cancer Awareness Month, and I believe there is something I want to bring to your attention. The Cancer Foundation in Guyana, the Cancer Foundation, has a walk on Sunday coming. For those of you who are in Region 4 and Georgetown or other regions and here and can participate, I will be there. I think this is a worthy cause. I think we should make an effort to support the Ghana Cancer Foundation. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and every woman needs to understand that early detection is important. The statistics is telling us that 1 in 8 person is affected, and so let's make an effort to get our screening done. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer before the age of 85. And folks, I was listening to a conversation today that says that early screening and detection is really important. It helps to mitigate with what's happening should they find something that is abnormal. And so I will join with the Guyana Cancer Foundation to say to you that early detection is important, and so screening should be your number one priority. And I hope to see you folks who are around on the Breast Cancer Awareness Walk on Sunday, the 23rd at 6 a.m. And I think it says the the assembly point is at the Kingston Seawall Bandstand, and they go up to Main Street, up to the Bank of Ghana, and then they come back to the seawall. It's going to be an early morning, walk, which is therapeutic in itself, and then you find yourself supporting a worthy cause. So let's come out. I mean, I am passionate about promoting women and girls in our communities, in our country. And so I join with the rest of the Cancer Foundation to say, come out and support a worthy cause. Folks, let's move on with our program this evening. We have a lot to discuss this evening. And you also know that October is also the awareness on violence against women and domestic violence, generally violence against women. And I want to give you an update. Now, while we in Guyana and around the world, we make every effort to ensure that we protect our women and girls from violence and many other things. Folks, a few days ago, I think it's either the 8th or the 9th of October, the fella that you're seeing on the screen there in the yellow shirt, who has taken a photograph with the president of Guyana, has assaulted a young Indian woman in a supermarket in Bath Settlement, West Coast, Berbice. We would have seen that matter ventilated a lot in the media since the 9th of October. But I want, as the screen says, I want to give you an update. Varsha, as she is fondly called, was hit in the head with a gun by this young man. I think his name is O.C. Rogers. So he was in the supermarket shopping. They ended up in an argument. She was trying to tell him, advise him on something, and he got upset. And he thought the best thing to do is to whip out his gun and dealt her several blows in her head. I spoke with Varsha, And I can tell you that she is in a lot of pain. But speaking to her, I understand that she went to the police. He went to the police. He was taken by the police at the Fort Wellington police station. She made a report, and up to today, all she knows is that the police said to her that they will get back to her. Folks, most of you know that this gentleman here, this is not his first instance of abusing a woman in public. And you know what has happened? Even though the police was involved, he was allowed to get on a flight and leave this country. And over the weekend, he was seen at a public forum, at a Diwali forum in the US. Now, you tell me, Varsha is left with all that has happened to her head. She told me that she's in tremendous pain. She went to the New Amsterdam hospital, and they have since sent her to Georgetown Public Hospital. Now, this is the incident here where she was assaulted by this fellow. This is such a sad situation, folks. That is Varsha in the black t-shirt there. And that is O.C. Rogers hitting her on her head. And you see where we can't see beyond that camera there is where they went outside, and he whipped out his gun and dealt her several blows on her head. Folks, this happened at a supermarket, a Chinese supermarket in Bat Settlement. Now, let me say to you that he has gone to the US, which means the police has no means of arresting him because he's not here. Now, let me say to you that this young lady is left in all this pain. She has been home from work at least 2 weeks now with no income. Nobody, the update I want to give you, no government minister, no women's organization, nobody reached out to this young lady. As she has said to me, nobody. Folks, what do you think will happen? What do you think? Who is taking care of Varsha in the west coast of Berbice? Where is the MP, Jafar Ali, the PPP MP for Region 5? Where is Indra Chandra Paul? Where is the Minister of Human Services, Vindhya Prasad? Where is Priya Manik Chan, who is always on Facebook and purports to represent the rights of women? Folks, but nobody has reached out to Varsha. Varsha has, I believe, 2 little children that she has to take care of. She's been home because she's in a lot of pain. New Amsterdam Hospital has sent her to Georgetown Hospital. We know that Georgetown Hospital don't have the ability to do scans, head scans. We know that. We know that she has to go to Mercy Hospital at the imaging place there to get it. And it's a lot of money. Who's going to stand the expense for her? But folks, we are going to stay on top of this matter. This is abuse at another level. And you know, O.C. Rogers was allowed to leave this country because he's a PPP stooge, put it that way. I can't find another word to describe him. And so the president takes pride in taking out photographs with abusive men. He takes pride because he's a stooge of the PPP. And you know, only recently, I think it was yesterday or over the weekend, the president would have announced some initiative that involves 1,000 men. But in this photograph, we have 2 men who can start to correct their behavior by taking responsibility for beating women. But folks, this is the PPP for you. Moving on. I don't know where they will get justice, but I am just hoping that the authorities can reach out to her, because I understand that that situation is a grave one. Folks, we can't continue in this country like this. We cannot. I don't know where we are going, but I want to bring you to an important discussion. Last week, I made a post, and I just thought, I was frustrated as a Guyanese citizen. I was frustrated, and I made a post about my frustration. And the responses that I got from that post made me do some other investigation. So my post said that I made two claims. I filed two claims since the 18th of July with NIS. And to date, I have not gotten a response. And I can tell you, this is personal. That post that I made is personal. I have two matters. I filed it. I did all of what they asked me to do. So I took in my claim. They looked at the documentation. They said, Miss Lewis, you have to get this, this, and this. The very next day, I went back with my documents. They checked it. They said, okay, you will hear from us within 2 to 3 weeks. That is exactly what the young lady said to me. After 2 weeks, I called. No answer. After 3 weeks, I went in. I was told that they have to do some things. They give me a number that I can WhatsApp for updates. Folks, I have done that. I've used the WhatsApp number, and all they keep doing is shifting the blame around. Oh, it's not this department, it's not claims department. You have to go to benefits. And it has been a royal run around. Now that's me. I will probably deal with that in a different setting. But let me show you some of the responses that I have been getting since that post was made. And mind you, this is across the country. Avril says, "You're not alone. My claims were submitted at the end of July 2022 and on the 27th, and same response she got. I got same pushing around. God help us." But Avril, I do believe that I should place my trust in God, but I also believe that I should make an effort. And so NIS can be collecting my money. And when it's time to give me my benefits, you're pushing me around. And then I believe there is another one from Christine. So Christine says, "This is quite sad. NIS goes around to various businesses to ensure that they are making their contributions and can't resolve this long and tiring process. Why does a contributor have to go through this kind of torture?" So Christine is liking this kind of behavior to torture. They need to make the system less challenging. And I quite agree. I quite agree. There's another comment that says to me, and it goes to show it's different people from different regions. This is Alyssa saying she made a maternity claim at New Amsterdam branch and still awaiting to be paid. My baby will be 6 months in a few days. I made several calls and 6 visits to the office and is still waiting. That is frustrating for a mother, a new mother. That is frustrating. They ensure, and Christine is alluding to a bigger problem at NIS. So they go around to defaulting employers and ensure that the money is turned over. And that is a good thing, to ensure that the employee benefits. And so when NIS go around and tell you that you must pay NIS for yourself and your employees, that is a good thing. It's ensuring that the employees benefit. But when they pay over their money to NIS, what is happening? Something around that in that process is missing. Something is missing at that point. And my question this evening Is NIS bankrupt? Did we use the money collected for something else? Like a few years ago, we used the money for we invest in the Barbies Bridge. Why is it that persons are frustrated? I got responses from almost every region of this country except Region 2. And so something must be happening good in Region 2. I haven't gotten a response, or a negative response, I should say. But, folks, I have a gentleman this evening who's going to join me as my guest. I believe this is the first time he's on Building Bridges. And so I'd like to welcome our guest this evening.
Good evening to your viewers. Good to be on.
Good evening, folks. This is Mr. Elson Low. And sir, as a matter of protocol, you are a first time guest on Building Bridges. And so I'd like to use this opportunity for you to tell our viewers who is Elson Low.
Well, thank you very much. As some of your viewers may know, I'm an economist. I provide economic and youth policy advice to the leader of the opposition. I've been assisting the party for some time in that regard. I have a degree in political science and economics. I worked at SARA for a bit as an investigator, and I did a lot of research on the oil and gas economy, what we should anticipate, types of corruption we should anticipate, but more broadly, what we should anticipate from the oil and gas economy. To that end, I'll hopefully be able to bring some insights regarding what we should be doing with NIS and how we should be thinking about NIS given all of the changes, massive changes to our economy, and the changes in expectations that I think are due given all of the great bounties that we've been fortunate to enjoy. So that's something I think we can chat a bit about on a personal
Absolutely.
level. Those who know me know that I enjoy cricket and football and those sorts of things. And so it's good. Again, it's good to be on.
Welcome and thank you. And Elson also has his own um, live program on Facebook. I think it's every Saturday evening, and now it's going to be Monday evening.
Yes, it's going to be Monday. Viewers are accustomed to seeing me on Tuesdays, actually, but it's going to be Monday from now going on. It's called The
Oh,
Lowdown. It's from 7 to 8 on now Mondays and Saturdays. And that's where we go in some depth, hopefully with a light and fun angle to things. We go over the economic situation right now and what people should first of all be aware of, but also how they can benefit from being aware of the changes to our economy. And of course, we want to give you a sense of what the opposition's plans are regarding these changes so that we can move the country forward.
absolutely. And so, Elson, we were talking about NIS and what has happened over the last week. And the question is, while people are venting their frustration to the process and the length of time, you and I know from a policy level that's an indication that something is wrong. And this does not go against the employees of NIS. So, folks, I know I've said tag the NIS and tag the short man Ashni Singh because he has responsibility for NIS. I want you to know that none of this, employees of NIS, none of this is against you. I know you guys are public servants and you're working very hard, but something behind the lines of policy is wrong. Is NIS bankrupt, Elson?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it is bankrupt, but I would say that it is very disturbing that many people from across different parts of the country are reporting such difficulty getting their claims sorted out. I think that especially in the current context where you've seen a budget pass that's nearly 50% bigger than the previous year's budget, is very disturbing. And I want to just read for your viewers one or two quotes that we've actually seen come out from the government regarding NIS, which I think contextualize the situation quite well. This is from the vice president recently indicated government will intervene through various provisions to ensure people receive their benefits. And he is saying that we will make sure people don't someday wake up and find they can't receive their monthly benefits or medical benefits and so on. This is what the government is saying, but it seems to be that the reality is very different, or at least some people are getting a very difficult time in getting access to their benefits. Now, of course, there are some people who even mentioned to the government that they could make use of the consolidated fund to rebalance NIS, and the vice president indicated that nothing could be done because of the scarcity of funds. There's no funds available. Now, if that isn't the most hilarious and ridiculous comment I've heard in long, in the
long
longest
time.
while, that's really beyond belief. Because of course, one of the things that we talk at length about is the fact that because of the higher oil price, Guyana has received a couple of 100 million US more than we had anticipated, about
Yeah.
60 billion Guyana dollars, give or take. So we could easily address any shortfall fall in NIS and easily put NIS on good footing by leveraging the excess revenues that we've unexpectedly received. And this is, of course, in part due to the war in Ukraine. We've got an oil price that's been around $100 a barrel or above $100 a barrel throughout the year. Due to that conflict, the government has not made use of those funds in any way, shape, or form to help with costs of living. But at the very least, what they could do is to help NIS to be in a solid position so that people do not have to go scrambling for their benefits. The idea that the government likes to put forward that nothing can be done, that there's no money, that idea is patently is a false statement. There, we have revenues, we can do things, we can impact people's lives, and we can move the country forward. But if
Yeah.
the government is intent on stand and they'll come and tell people that nothing can be done. Nothing can be done. Just to also remind your viewers, we had indicated that the government should do something about ensuring that the cost at the pump was not did not exceed a certain level, and that fuel prices were kept at a reasonable level. We had indicated in a press conference that the government should do that. What did the government say? Nothing can be done. What's the government saying here about NIS? Nothing can be done. But of course, sharp-eyed viewers will observe that recently the government lowered the price of at the pump at Guy Oil. So clearly something could be done. From that perspective, clearly something can be done here about NIS in terms of ensuring that everyone is able to access their benefits without hassle and without these types of concerns. That's the starting place I believe we must approach this issue from. But I would also say that the NIS more generally, because of the massive changes to our economy, is under review, is something that we're looking closely at, because we want to ensure that the system meets the new demands of this economy, meets higher expectations that citizens should reasonably have with a larger economy and with higher income and so on. And so we're going to look at it because what we're going to present for you, coming from the coalition, is a better NIS, an NIS in which you can have faith, and an NIS in which you can really feel comfortable with the benefits that are being offered to you as this country this year, 25% growth expected next year. People should expect to see their benefits also moving forward and growing, and not to hear from the government that nothing can be done.
I mean, Elsan, that folks, share the live stream. Let me say to you that Samuel Mingo has captured it correctly. Samuel says, share the live. This is credible information. And Rose Chappelle is saying, I admire this young man, Elson Low. Brilliant youth. And I
Thank you.
do believe Rose has been around for a while, and Rose is tuned into all of our programs, and she's absolutely correct. Brilliant, Elson Slow. Elson Low, there is nothing that can be done. And that is a statement coming from the vice president. That is an indication of the kind of policies and the leaders that we have in our country that does not care about our people. Because, you know, the multi-million dollar family and friends, they don't go to NIS to look for claims and benefits, you know. They don't. It is the ordinary public servants and regular workers who would go to NIS to get their benefits. And it is worthy to note that when the vice president says that something is wrong, whenever he makes that statement, he has known about that problem a long time ago. It is shameful that the vice president will make such a statement. But, folks, we wanted you to know that all is not well at NIS. I would encourage you to go and be insistent. If you know there's a particular situation and you're not getting your benefits, you're entitled to your benefits, let it be known. Speak up. And one of the ways I've noticed that the government is reacting to is when you do a video and you expose them. That's one of the things that we have to encourage all of you. You're disadvantaged by the government's policy, expose them. Let the world know, because we don't deserve this. An oil producing nation can't take care of social security for their people. Something is definitely wrong. And it's poor planning, it's bad leadership, and a number of things, incompetence at all its level. But you know, folks, Elson is an economist, and I have asked Elson to come on the show because I wanted to talk about a portfolio issue. And then I was able to get a good understanding of what's happening with NIS and where we are. So, folks, we want to talk about what's happening in education. You know, um, Del Dogan says NIS needs Sue to get the VP to get things done, and you know that's another issue with Sue. But as soon as I get back Elson on, we will go ahead and discuss some of the issues that we want to talk about in education. Elson, I know that we have some outstanding um, issues we've been talking about, and one of them is education. I have said publicly that the Ministry of Education has received the largest chunk of the budget. There has been an increase from 2020 to 2021. And from 2021 to 2022, there has been even higher percentage increase in budgetary allocations for the Ministry of Education. And so, despite the government pledges to invest in education, the share of the budget spent on education has fallen from 15.8% to 13.45% between 2021 and 2022. And that's coming from you. The question is, despite this 2022 budget being 44% larger than 2021 budget, and that's the point I wanted to make, and you have given me the stats there, it's 44% larger. The question is, are we getting value for our money, given all that we have seen in the media, particularly in the last couple of months?
Yes, well, I think that's a very valid question to ask. And I think there's a couple things to unpack here. The first being that really citizens must ask themselves, this budget is 44% larger than the previous year's budget. Does it feel to you like you got 44% more from the government than you got last year? That's the first question to ask yourself. The second is, we've heard the president pledge 20% of all revenues will go towards education. One of the things that I would point out is that this is the first budget that has included oil revenues in it. That's why it's a large budget. But the share of the budget that has gone towards education has actually shrunk from the years when we didn't have oil revenue included. So when you didn't have oil revenue included, you had a budget with 15%, 16% of education going towards education. Now you have oil, and the share of money that's being spent on education has fallen. That is the opposite of what it is supposed to be. And so it is fine enough for the government to say that they want to put 20%. We need to actually see 20% put there. And I'll give your viewers another way of thinking about this. If the government puts 20% next year, that will mean not that there's 20% put towards it, because there's a deficit of 7% from this year. So they got to put maybe 27% next year in order for it to catch up. This is the kind of I think of a focus that we've seen in so many ways with this government. And so unfortunately, we've now seen the education budget shrink. That's the first start of it, the first part of it. The second part of it, which is similarly interesting, is that when you look at the pass rates, for things like mathematics, this year turned a 4% pass rate. Can you imagine that if, that 2/3 of the students are not passed in mathematics? Can you imagine that? That's unbelievable. But what is even more unbelievable is that with a budget that was nearly half the size, the coalition was able to get 43% pass rate. So
Yeah,
it's a question of what are we even doing with these funds? What is the point of spending more if you cannot produce better outcomes, better results? And of course,
yeah.
the government may say, oh, we spent this money on schools, access to education, and so on. But we recently saw students in tents. So I don't
Yeah.
understand how you can say that you spent money on school and access to school and so on, and then you have students in tents. That to me makes it seem like the money is gone. So the question is, where are these funds? Have these funds actually been spent? And have we gotten anywhere near the value that we really expected to get? Folks, this is much more money being spent. You expect to see much more from the Ministry of Education. You expect to see much more output from the government, not the same things. Because what is going to happen? I'm very anxious, and your viewers, I'm sure, are anxious about this as well, is that you'll see more and more spent every year, and you'll see the same pass rates all year. Best we keep the budget at 400 something billion, and I mean, this is ridiculous. We can't be wasting 30
It
something billion
is.
dollars. That's
It is,
beyond belief.
and you know what is shameless about all of this is that the installed president was at the UN forum, and he spoke about equitable access for education in Guyana. And 2 days after he came back, there was a protest in Region 1 where and parents and teachers and community workers, everybody, I really am amazed in that community. What had happened, the tent city situation started in Region 1, but the entire community came out and protested. And they said to the Ministry of Education and to the Ministry of Local Government that our teachers deserve better. And so they were not only protesting that the conditions are inhumane for their children, but they also held the position for the teachers, because wherever the students are, the teachers would have to go and teach. And so in a very short period of time, the Ministry of Education team was in Maruka, and they fixed that problem. Now, that's the kind of activism that we expect from every community. The shameless thing is, Maruka is one of our hinterland communities. The president went to a UN forum, and in a nutshell, he lied to the people, because you can't talk about equitable distribution in education and then you have the indigenous people in a tent in ponds of water as a classroom. I mean, on the coastline it's a different scenario. They were not in water, but they were in tents, and the humidity is, it doesn't lend itself to learning. We've just come out, well, we're not quite out yet of a pandemic, but you have so many students huddled in a tent, enclosed, There's no distance among them, but the teachers got to turn up in the classroom. Is that a reflection of the money that we have allocated in the National Assembly for the Ministry of Education? You know, I've seen the Minister of Education made a post about encouraging children to go to school on time because they're losing so many hours. But that is so hypocritical because we still have schools that students cannot go to school for an entire day, which is about 8 hours because they're on the double session or a rotation situation because they can't be accommodated in school. How, Elson, explain to us what the problem is or what likely is the problem because the money is there.
Well, that's the thing. I think the PPP would be happy to sell the nation on this kind of idea that there's no oil money, that there's not resources available, that nothing can be done. They're happy with that narrative because that narrative will allow them to engage in corruption and steal X, Y, and Z and leave very little to the people. As we've demonstrated, there's about $30 billion that we don't even know what use that money has been put towards because the performances are not particularly different, or they're actually worse in many regards than we had when we had a smaller budget. So that is, I think, the first thing that we must understand is that they're happy to pretend like there aren't resources to deal with these problems. There aren't resources to ensure that people in hinterland areas have access to good schooling, have access to good classrooms, comfortable classrooms. They're happy to pretend that there's no money available for students to actually for buildings to be rented, as we had indicated, rather than for students to be in tents. And one thing I'd also point out to your viewers as we continue to talk about this is there was a supplemental budget that was passed of an additional $45 billion.
Yeah.
So when the government comes out and says, oh, they didn't realize, didn't understand, they didn't know, a supplemental budget passed, and that is supposed to deal with contingencies. So how is it that they could have been so poor? So that the management by the PVP of the education sector could be so poor that they pass a whole supplemental budget, give themselves a whole additional $45 billion, and still can't figure out renting some places so that students have a good place to study. It boggles the mind. What is going on? Why is so much money being spent, and you're not seeing the results of it? Endless amounts of money being spent. We are throwing money on the fire, and that is extremely alarming. The other thing that is something that we really need to grapple with, and something that we're talking about in the PNCR, that the leader of the opposition has brought up, and we'll continue to bring up, is that the idea that we will just allow or just not bother with the high rate at which people drop out of high school in Guyana, at which people are not able to even write CXC in Guyana. We're not going to do anything about that. You're not hearing the government mention it at all. Of course, the leader of the opposition has spoken already about the need for there to be these sorts of schools that provide assistance and remedial work for those who are not able to actually even get to the stage of writing CXC and would like to further their education, which is huge numbers of people. Those are areas that the government is not speaking about at all. What they could have done with the additional $30 billion that they're spending is they could have focused on those types of programs and opened up those types of schools across the country. Instead, we saw them shut down the Sophia Night School that was assisting people to qualify themselves. We will do the opposite. We will ensure that a wide network exists that allows Guyanese to be able to access this type of education. If you look at it, really, around 80%, give or take, of Guyana's population does not have math and English passes. Does not have math and English passes.
Scary.
If you think about it, if you're always producing 30 70% pass rates in math, that's going to cause a problem. But if you also have a large number of people drop out, you have about 17,000 or so that write common entrance, but only 10,000 or so that are writing CXE. You have to ask yourself, what happened to the 7,000 students? They didn't get a chance to write. So not only did those students not write CXC, the students that did write, 60% of them didn't pass. When you work that out, it means that the vast majority of students do not have math and English. I was listening to the radio the other day, and a simple assistant job was calling for math and English. How is it that 80% of the people in this country, around about, cannot apply for simple assistance position? In if you look at the US, we're supposed to be heading to be a developed country. 90% of the people in the US can apply for a simple assistance position because they have the appropriate qualifications. We're not talking about people who have a bachelor's degree or anything like that. We're
Yeah.
talking about just simple graduation from high school with the appropriate level of qualification. That
Yeah.
is utterly ridiculous. And what it means is that a huge segment of Guyana's population will be shut out from accessing many of the higher paying jobs that will come in the oil and gas sector because they cannot actually even apply for those jobs. This is not acceptable. We are going to do something about it. And we are not going to sit back and let the vast majority of Guyana's population not have access to the bright future that can come if we manage these oil resources well. But the PPP seems to be perfectly happy allowing us to go forward with 80% of the population not having maths and English. They haven't said a word about it, and they haven't put any budgetary allocations toward it to speak of. Rather, they're shutting down the schools that are there to try and affect these things. I don't know what you think about that, but that to me is beyond belief.
I don't think the PPP has a plan for the development of this country. Because, in my opinion, the development of the human resource of this country would have been paramount importance for any country that is in a situation like ours. If you understand that the development of the human resource is important, why would you close down the Sophia Night School? Why would you close down the Bartram College, Bartram Collins College, where we were training our public servants before putting them in the public sector? Why would you do those things? Why would you not involve the University of Guyana in the Gold Scholarship Program? And it's very, very distasteful when you have to come and highlight all these things. It feels like you're just banging at the government every time. But Elson, we have a responsibility to the population of this country to let them know what is happening with the resources of this country. The people who are leading us, they are, I don't know, backwards in development. We have gone from a green state development strategy to a low carbon development strategy. That is a glaring backward move, as if we've gone back 10 years in our life. If you understand that, you will know that the PPP has no plan to develop Guyana. They have ignored the real development, the honest development of our human resources. And the Private Sector Commission has often been saying to us, and we've met recently, and they have reiterated their point that Guyana does not have the skill set that is required at this point in time. And so they have to import labor, skilled labor. They have to import that. How long are we going to go along that trajectory? How long? If we don't take care of the simple issues that Elson is talking about, the math and English passes at CXC, how long are we going to ignore the needs of the University of Ghana? And Elson, I'm sure you are aware of some of the challenges that exist in the Gold Scholarship Program. And we're talking education. The Gold Scholarship Program is a collaboration between the Ministry of Education and the Department and the Ministry of Public Service. How, Elson? What indication is this government given to all of us when they would have gone overseas, particularly to India and other countries, to secure scholarships for our Guyanese people to study, and they've ignored? Nothing is wrong with that, but they have ignored completely the University of Ghana. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And we must always bear some of the context in mind here. If you have a budget that is 44% bigger than the previous year, In order for you to maintain the same balance, you would expect to see a 44% increase in the various areas of the budget. University of Guyana's budget barely increased, barely increased. It's almost the same. It's not 44% bigger, which means that the proportion being spent on the University of Guyana has fallen sharply. Even the proportion being spent on the gold scholarships has fallen because whereas you had 25%, whereas you've seen more gold scholarships, 20% more gold scholarships, the budget is 4% bigger. So you expected to see even more scholarships. So even with gold, they've cut back on the total, on the proportion of the budget that's being put towards those scholarships. But that is one side of it. The other side is that you mean to tell me these people are going to keep the University of Guyana as a paid institution? This is ridiculous. This is the height of folly. Because again, if you have the appropriate revenues, it's in the constitution that the University of Guyana is supposed to be free. How can you really look the Guyanese people in the face and continue to charge them for that university? It is absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And it only takes $4 billion or so to make the University of Guyana free every year. That is not a huge strain on the budget. It's a deliberate choice by the government not to assist, not to
Yeah.
help, not to help students who really need that assistance. And we, of course, have said, first of all, the University of Ghana needs to be made free immediately. That's the first thing. And the second thing we've said is that all student loans need to be canceled, and those who paid in cash or resident in Ghana need to be reimbursed, because we believe that from now, the University of Ghana needs to be free. From now, people need to stop having to pay these ridiculous fees when they are entitled to have free education, and that the government is delaying and delaying as perhaps an election tactic or something to that effect, making some moves towards sort getting the University of Ghana to be a free institution. They have said that they're going to make it free within 5 years. But 2 years have passed and they have made no efforts to make the University of Guyana free. They could have phased in the process of making it free. They could have said, we're going to start with this faculty and expand it. But they've made no effort. And we are saying this is not acceptable. We're saying that once we are in government, we will write off all of these student debts that are associated, and we will ensure that those who paid in cash that are resident are reimbursed. We are not here to punish Guyanese for what they are constitutionally entitled to receive. Rather, we are here to help them to accomplish career growth, to accomplish their dreams, to live their best lives and be the best versions of themselves. But the PvP just is here to punish people, and so that's what they say. PvP
Punish
stands for
poor
People
people.
Punishment Party. Yeah, so there you go, there you go. They're happy to keep punishing people, no matter how much money we get. The punishment somehow has to continue.
Yeah. And Elson, I absolutely love your input on the University of Guyana there. We have to continue to tell people that they deserve better. I believe by now, I see President Biden was offering debt relief, write off of debts for college students in the US. I believe that's where we could have gone in the first 2 years. It's one of the measures to help our people to keep a little bit of money in their pockets, so that spending in the markets and in the supermarkets is easy on the family. If you really want to provide reliefs, those are some of the actions you have to take, but that does not interest the PvP. And so that's no business of there. I see Miss Varshni from Canada, Megnot, she's from West Berbice, she's in Canada. She says hello to you, Elson. And somebody is saying, why does the program seem to be a program that you bash the government? I feel bad that I have to come and give you all of that, and some that's why I usually start the program with something positive. Folks, I don't take it kindly that I have to come here and be the bearer of bad news and tell you all these things that are not happening that should happen for you. But one of the responsibility that I have is to ensure that you receive credible information. You are up to date with the state of affairs in our country. That's my responsibility as a parliamentarian. excuse me, if it's not happening, I have to tell you that it's not happening. But I want to congratulate my brother Elson Low, who would have given you recommendations tonight. At every question, Elson would have said at the end of his question, when we get back in government, this is what we will do. He made recommendations, what he said what the problem is at NIS, and he made recommendations on what we will do when we get back in government. And folks, that's the kind of information that we will bring to you. We wouldn't always come and tell you what the problem is without giving you the recommendations, because we know what the problem is. And we know some of them are unwarranted. They're not needed, but just because of neglect and incompetence and discrimination, we have all of that. And of course, because of the thievery that is taking place, you have problems. And we have to let you know, because you know what? At some point in time, close in the future, we are going to ask you to place your vote, to give us your vote. And so we will remind you of all these things that happened from 2020 to now. We have to tell you what the problem is. Listen to me. I don't take it kindly that I have to come and tell you this, but folks, it's wonderful. Sharon Grant, welcome to Building Bridges. Please share the live stream. My guest this evening is Elson Low. Elson, I want to ask you one last question before I let you go. I know we're running up on program time. And you have said that we are not receiving value for money in this country in the education sector. The question is, at an overall analysis, do you see us from 2020 to now receiving value for money across these sectors, or is it just education that we're not getting value for?
Well, I think what is really concerning and where citizens need to really raise their voices is that the government has deliberately ignored a lot of the key questions, a lot of the key areas that citizens need some help. And as a result of that, things have been a lot worse than they really needed to be. And so the government is focused on a lot of capital projects that have, well, of course, you want to invest and so on. There's a lot of corruption allegations around a lot of these particular projects. But at the same time, we've had the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been a very stressful period, a 2-year period, really. One cash grant over that entire period, if you can imagine that. That's the first thing. The other thing is that we're now in a new oil and gas era, and we've not seen the government pay the type of focus to the changes occurring in our economy that really needs to happen. The education sector is one great example, but just recently we saw the Bank of Ghana report indicate that sugar production was down 56%, rice production was down, gold production was down, manufacturing was. So the point being that reasonable for citizens to be
That's our
concerned.
reality.
I think it'd be very reasonable for citizens to be concerned that all of this money is being spent, and you're actually seeing in many areas worse results, and that makes you question where exactly the money has gone.
That's a fantastic end there, Elson. Thank you very much. You have done justice to our questions here this evening. I really want us to come back because there are a number of other areas in education that I want us to talk about at a macro level. So if it's okay with you, I'll extend an invitation to you another evening and we can have more discussions. The comments
Happy
relating
to
to
come
your
up.
responses, it's overwhelming. I know our builders here this evening are happy to have you, and it's good information for them. Sharon, Mary Luke says, very interesting and good information, and that's a good feedback for you, Elson. I want to thank you very much for coming on Building Bridges, and I hope to see you another evening where we can talk more on the aggregates in education. Thank you so much, Elson.
Thank you for having me, and I'll be happy to come on any other time. This was a great experience, and I'm glad to be able to speak to your audience.
Thank you so very much. Have a good evening. Folks, we're in the month of October, and the focus is on a couple of things: domestic violence, violence against women, care for the elderly. It's actually the month where we pay a lot of attention to our seniors, and it is also the agriculture month, and there's so many things happening. It's breast cancer awareness month, and we want to ensure that don't let these things go by and you don't participate. As a citizen, you're supposed to contribute to the development of your community and to the development of your nation. And in so doing, apart from my portfolio being a member of parliament, I have established an NGO, and that's a not for profit organization, and it's called Sisters Together Incorporated. I want to show you what it looks like on my flyer. Yes, that's it. So the NGO is Sisters Together Incorporated, and our slogan is a hope for women. Our vision speaks to empowering women and girls for community development. And folks, we have done, even though we were established in 2019, we've done our formal launch in May of 2022. And since then, we have started work in Region 10 in Linden, Region 5 in Berbice, and Mocha Arcadia in Region 4. Recently, 2 Sundays ago, we had a youth walk in Mocha Arcadia, and the response was overwhelming. Folks, we are doing good things in this organization. The women in the leadership of this organization, they are awesome people. I can tell you because I work with them every single day. We also have some men in this organization on the board of directors. We have Mr. Wainwright McIntosh, and we are deliberate about that. We are not going to attempt the development of women and girls without the involvement of our men folks. When we address the issue of domestic violence, we say that we cannot fix the issues of a woman and what the abuses in the home unless we are able to have an opportunity to speak with the partner or the head of the home or the father in the home. We believe that there is a place for our men folk in the whole process of ensuring that we have healthy families, and our women and girls are able to grow. So, folks, with that, before I close off the program, I want to thank you all for being here. But I also want to ask you to contribute, partner with us at Sisters Together. You can see the info there. You have the Facebook page. You are here this evening. Just flip over to your Facebook page, go to Sisters Together, like and share the page. We are on Instagram at Sisters Together for Us. Our email is hopeforwomen6@gmail.com. Our WhatsApp number is 665-7593. And you can partner with us using Western Union MoneyGram or MMG. Our MMG number is 615-8917. Folks, it was awesome being with you. I urge you to, whatever small contribution you can make towards the organization and helping our women and girls, I urge you to do it. It's an awesome experience to work with women and ensure they move from one level to another level. And you can be a part of that. And so I say to you, you will get your value for money. Partner with us, make a contribution, contact me by any means. All of the information for me is public, and I will guide you along the process. Join us, Sisters Together Incorporated, this Sunday as we support the Guyana Cancer Foundation in their walk. Join us this Sunday. It's going to be an awesome early morning walk, refreshing, and a great contribution to your country and your community. And so I want to say to Don Baines, is that correct? Like and share the page. Keep it alive. Awesome. Awesome, Don. That's the word. Like and share the page. Keep it alive. Folks, Karen, welcome. Thank you, folks. Del Nicaraguan. Awesome. Awesome people. Look at those young people there, folks. Look at the young people that we were able to bring out at 5:30 on a Sunday morning to for the youth walk in Mocha Arcadia. Folks, it was an awesome, awesome Sunday morning. The response was, we thought that, young people don't wake up early in the morning. And you see Alabama there, he came out to speak with the women, to inspire them. And he said, the women folk of our country is our goal and our oil. I so love that from him. And folks, we had a lovely time. We encourage this kind of mobilization, this kind of community walks and so on, because it provides an avenue, an opportunity for our women to come and speak with us. We had Miss Vanessa Williams, a youth advocate, and we had MP Nima Flubes, who is also a physical education teacher and helped us in the process. We had the NDC chairman for Mocha Arcadia addressing the women at the end of the walk. Folks, it was awesome. This organization, Sisters Together Incorporated, is doing some awesome work at the community level, because we believe that we have to change the mindset of our women and girls in our community so they can grow. Along we would carry the men, we will not leave the men out. And so I say to you, whatever contribution you can make towards the organization, I I encourage you to partner with us and let us move that organization on. We see from the activities, when you visit the Facebook page, you will see some of the activities. You will be able to interact with some of the staff. Their information is on the page there too. And folks, let us do something for our communities. It's important as an individual, you take care of your families and you make your contribution to your communities. Not all of us are fortunate enough to sit at a desk and work from there. Some of us don't have a job. There are many women who are at home, who were laid off from the time of COVID. They're still at home, don't have a skill, don't have a job. And so that translates in many ways to abuse in the home. A lot of things happen to our women when they're unemployed and at home. And so we have the responsibility to empower our women and girls, and we are taking that responsibility seriously. And I want to say before I go, a big thank you to all of you. Share the live so that somebody else can get access to this information. You can make your contribution to the organization, and I thank you. You will have to join me back next Tuesday. Remember, Building Bridges is no longer on Monday evenings. It's now on Tuesday evening, 6:30 to 7:30. It was awesome spending more than an hour with you this evening. I love you. Take care, and I'll see you next Tuesday.